Hello and welcome to Old School. And I am back with Dave Hendrick after an age, Dave. I think maybe a year gap this time.
I think it's been about a year, yeah. I think it's been about a year, but you've obviously been doing the Gags Tandon show, you've been doing Chat G and G, so you're podcasting regularly, which is what the people wanted anyway, even if it wasn't with me.
Exactly. And now that, we've got you here on YouTube, maybe this is how we could do it. Old school, this would be good. This would be fantastic to be live and people could see. I'm just seeing now whether we are live on. We are. Yes, I can just see it. I'm going to make sure the volume's off. We are, and we can retweet this now. Boom. Off we go. Right. Brilliant. So it's retweeted to the masses from AI, from my account. If you want to retweet it as well, we can do. Straight away, we've got YWNA Foodie here. We are the champions. I didn't meet you yesterday, bud. You held out on me, I'm disappointed. But Dave, first and foremost, champions. We were just talking about it off air, actually. Incredibly, nobody saw this coming. I mean, it's not incredible, actually. It's I guess it's what everybody would say. I mean, no way did me or you or anyone predict that Arne Slot coming in would mean we'd become champions, especially with the same squad. We were all pretty peeved that we didn't sign anyone in the summer. I think maybe that's when we did Chiesa pod, I think, because we were just happy that we got Chiesa. I think that was the last one we did, mate. And we were just hoping a top four, right? I think this season.
I think so, yeah, because I think we were looking at it and saying, okay, well, our squad is good enough for third. That's what it is. That's where we finished last season. We've lost Jurgen. Arne's coming in. He's going to change how we play fundamentally. So if he can repeat third, even if it's fourth, that's a great first season. And nobody believed in us. Even though none of us, other than Cy Brundish, who always thinks we're going to win the league, even though we didn't think we'd win the league, we thought we'd finish in the Champions League spots. But when you heard the outside world speak about Liverpool, it was, oh, well, they're done. They're finished. They're going to finish fifth or sixth. So one lad had us eighth. I don't know what he was huffing on, but it certainly wasn't anything healthy for his brain. People thought we were done. People thought it was Klopp. And there was a foundational part of our fan base that did think it was just Klopp who was overperforming with the squad. And look, Jurgen did an incredible job, but I always thought the whole Klopp is performing miracles thing was really disrespectful to the players.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to say, the other thing that's gone right now is my brain, because I was literally sat with, I didn't put together as these. There's so many people messaging me this weekend to meet up. There you go. That's my bad. So yeah, we spent a lot of time together. Great. But no, you're right. Loads of everybody. I mean, Gary Neville, fifth. He had no, that was probably bias on his side, right? More than anything. I don't think he actually believed we would be out of the top four, and putting Man United in the top four is crazy talk. Just crazy talk. His punditry this season, I don't think I've seen him get destroyed as much as that guy got destroyed this season. Just from early season, predictions to it's as if he doesn't know football, Dave, which is hilarious as well. I mean, it's one of the best things about this season was this last week when Man United didn't win anything and Arsenal didn't win anything, and then all the birds won something, which was beautiful to see.
Well, that's the thing. When you look at this season and you look at the Premier League, so if we look at our rivals, our historic rivals are obviously Everton, Manchester United, and Arsenal to a lesser extent, but they are still a historic rival. So Arsenal win nothing. That's just another season of failure for them.
Yeah.
Everton finish in 13th. They don't crack 50 points. They're in financial hell. They've said goodbye to Goodison. They have got Moyes back, though, and maybe their future brightens up. We'll see. But Manchester United finished 15th. 15th. That's the lowest either Manchester United or Liverpool have ever finished in the Premier League era. Their points tally of 42 points is the lowest in the Premier League era. And while there had been many seasons where, well, not many, like I think it was 3 each or 3-2 in our favour, where there'd been a 30-point gap between the teams. Like, for example, 1920, we finished 33 points ahead of them. But they did finish third that year. But this season, we finished 42 points ahead of them, and they're 15th. And that's a joyous thing.
It is.
And then you see like our other rivals, like, you know, the newer rivals. City, they end up winning nothing. Chelsea, they may still win the Europa Conference League, but does anyone care about that competition?
It would actually be funny if they did, Dave, because more London clubs have won something than Arsenal. Like, it's just another thing stick to beat Arsenal with more than a Chelsea thing.
That's the thing. Like, and that's the other part of the Arsenal thing. They have to look at their biggest rivals, Tottenham, winning a European trophy, despite finishing in 17th. They see Crystal Palace, a London rival, winning the FA Cup. And like you said, it may well be that Chelsea win the Conference League. Like, it's just an epic season of failure for Arsenal, for Everton, and for United. And for City as well, because they've been our biggest rival, obviously, in the last 10 years. Actually, in the entirety of the Anfield Index era, which we started, obviously, the podcasts in 13-14, City win the league, and they have kind of dominated since. But we got our title in 1920, and now we have another one, and they won nothing, and it's a magnificent thing. Everybody should celebrate not only us winning the Premier League, but Manchester City winning nothing. That's tremendous for everybody.
It is tremendous. It's literally the best. Honestly, we couldn't have predicted. Like I said, it's just too hard to predict, you know, Newcastle winning something. Or, you know, Crystal Palace had never won something. You know, it just Spurs, perennial bottlers this season as well, ended up winning. I mean, that's just, if someone had put a bet on, they'd be a very, very rich person right now, you know, on these teams winning something this year. It would have been insane.
Oh, yeah.
Odds on that. So that in itself tells you what a lovely, surprising season it was, and unpredictable, as Eddie is producing right now. But we got to go back to Arne Slot, really, and what we were talking about offline before we joined. The big surprise, how me and you haven't caught up on it. We haven't spoken about it. I'm sure you've spoken about it a lot. I've spoken about it a lot separately. But he's been a breath of fresh air. And, you know, I think let's talk. Maybe we've talked about it loads, so they know our opinions. Maybe the next step, everything is looking like dreamland for a Liverpool fan, Dave. Like, especially your dreams, like signing maybe the best player that's available on the market, possible this summer, is hopefully about to become a Liverpool player in the next week, and then 2 fullbacks that are literally super attacking, like super attacking, exciting players joining. It's insane. Like, this is what we'd wanted 18, 19. This is what we wanted, you know, after winning the league. It never happened. No,
it didn't. And like, you know, you look back and you think that night that we won the European Cup in 2019, and obviously we just missed out on the league by a point, but there was no real argument made against the fact that we were the best team in Europe at that point. And we should have been looking to really hammer home the fact that we were that great and had that type of potential, and we could go and dominate. And obviously we do win the league the following year, but that summer still feels like a missed opportunity when all we did was sign Sepp Vandenberg, Harvey Elliott, and Adrian. We spent 3 million plus add-ons. I think ultimately it worked out at about 8 million. And look, ultimately both of those transfers proved really fruitful, because we sold Sepp and made a 20 million profit, and we'll sell Harvey this summer and we'll probably make a 40 million pound profit when you factor in that he's been on loan and he's more than paid off his fee. We got Minamino in the January. We sold him at double the price as well, so that worked out. But it wasn't what we needed at that point. We needed another injection to really start to create a gap between us and the rest. Then we win the league, and a lot of people use that as justification for not spending the previous summer, but ultimately it then came back to haunt us in years after. And we were talking about it offline before we came on. Like, we're not even going to be to June, and we may well have 3 deals done. 3 outstanding young players. For all we know, 2 of them are already done. We know the Frimpong one is pretty much done. The Wirtz one seems pretty much a formality. And the Kirkes one is probably a little bit further away, but also still very, very close. So you consider that, right? That's how we're acting right now.
That's happening within this week as well. Your best
100%. 100%. But think back to when we last won the league, right? So obviously 1920, the season gets disrupted by COVID. So the final game of the 1920 season, our last league match, is the 26th of July away to Newcastle. We beat them 3-1. Right. We don't sign a player for 2 weeks. Then we sign Costas on the 10th of August for, I think, about 12 million, something like that. The next season, the 2021 season, kicks off on the 12th of September, and Costas is still the only player in the door. And then in the week that follows, we sign Thiago and Jota. But we'd already started the new season. We're a month away from pre-season even beginning, and we'll have 3 lads in the door at least.
And that
it may be that we have 2 or 3 more in on top of that.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a sign, is that the manager wants as many players in on that first day as possible, or at least 2 weeks into preseason. So if they do go Nations League and stuff, and they get a bit of extra time off, but he wants them in as soon as possible, just so that, you know, he can start doing his magic, because he had to start coaching very late this year. All of them were coming back from the Euros, right? So
Euros and the Copa America.
Yeah, so everybody was coming back late, and he had to really filter. And we didn't really get to see the real Liverpool until the season started. And I mean, we started great. The whole season's been fantastic. I mean, top of the league, 32 out of 38 weeks. That's insane, Dave. Again, another thing you just wouldn't have predicted with City and Arsenal in the league.
No, this is the thing. Like, Arsenal never topped the league at all this season. So match week 1, we're 3rd. Match week 2, we're 4th. Match week 3, we're 2nd. Then we lose to Forest. We drop to 4th. Then it's 2nd after match week 5. Then we go top for 3 weeks. We draw away to Arsenal in match week 9. We drop to 2nd. The following week, we beat Brighton. That was a game where, you know, we looked like we were struggling, and then Cody comes up with it. Ultimately a bit of a fluke, but Cody comes up with the goal. Mo scores immediately after. We win that game. We go top. That is the 2nd of November. And we've just been top ever since.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. We've literally we've done what we have always said we need to do to win titles in an era with Manchester City around. We have blown everybody away, created such a gulf that eventually they all just gave up. And that's basically what happened this year, was everybody gave up. We lost to Forest on the 14th of September and didn't lose again until Fulham on the 6th of April. And we just blitzed through. We obviously had some draws, a couple of them disappointing, but we just kept winning and winning and winning some more. And it wasn't like we were putting in, you know, a 10-match winning run. We had a 4, a draw, a 4, 2 draws, a 3, 2 draws, a 3, a draw, a win, a draw, 4 wins, the defeat to Fulham, and then 3 wins in a row. And obviously at the start of the season, we'd won 3-0. So we never won more than 4 games in a row. But we just showed a consistency that nobody could live with this season. We didn't have to be a spectacular level of brilliant. We weren't as good this season as we were in 1920, when we just blew everybody away and, you know, got to match week 27, beat West Ham, and had won 26 of the 27 games, with the other one being a draw. But we didn't need to be that this year. And I think this is something that certain fans of other clubs have struggled to kind of come to terms with, is that seasons are singular. They're not relatable. Your points tally is not transferable.
Nope.
What you do in a season is just for that season. And what you do, or what you need to do in that season is dictated by the terms of that season. So people maybe in 10 years will look back and go, wow, Liverpool won the league that year with 84 points. They mustn't have been a great team. But what they'll miss is that we won the title with 4 games to go. We could have run through the rope. We could have just continued to plough on. We could have gone and beaten Chelsea. We were battering Arsenal and then just kind of stopped playing. We should have beaten Brighton. We should have beaten Palace. We could have ended up on 94 points, which I think only one Chelsea team under Mourinho, 2 Liverpool teams under Klopp, and 2 City teams under Pep. So 5 other teams have only topped 94. So we would have had the 6th highest points total ever if we'd needed it. But we didn't need it this year.
And also, this is a real throwback to Liverpool teams of yesteryear who, after they won the title early, they would go on the piss and they wouldn't win more games. It just, everybody's been saying this is very, very much like the olden days where, and to be fair, I know some of us wanted it. I wanted it. But the players enjoying themselves for a month is way better for the cohesive, the unity. Some of them knowing they were leaving. Some of them know that their days are numbered, I mean, some of the stuff that Robbo's been coming out with didn't sound like someone who's confident he's going to be here.
Yeah.
So it's like those things that come out, you can see that they just wanted to enjoy the last 4 weeks together and that this squad's going to get a big reshuffle and things are going to be happening. Darwin's hopefully going. You don't know if Jota's going to go. You don't know if Diaz is going to go. You don't know what's happening around that, behind the scenes. And what they're doing early is great because they're allowed to set up then, right, fullback's done, number 10 or wide left, whichever way, wherever he's going to play. I know there's debates going on. Wherever he's going to play, that's done. And then it's just the other things that we need to sort now, but we'll probably sell first before we do it, before we go and move on to stuff. And, we definitely need a striker to replace Darwin when he goes. So I guess it's just, hey, Saudi, how much are you giving us for him? And off you go. Or Atletico, you got to pay us a little bit more so that we can get Alvarez in. Whichever way it's going to go, I don't know. But it's just very exciting, Dave, to be a Liverpool fan right now. I was there yesterday, as you probably saw with the pics. It's just, it was just a wonderful time. I mean, I've got on this screen here, I've got the parade going on right now. I mean, it's pissing it down in Liverpool, unfortunately. But everybody's having a great time. And the scenes are insane. Yeah. And it was very similar yesterday. John
Henry is on a bus drinking a beer.
He might crack out a cigar soon, mate.
I hope so. I really hope he does. He probably can't legally because it's probably seen as a place of work because he's a bus driver. So he might not be allowed, but he should anyway because he's got enough money to pay the fine. Exactly. But you're right. Like this is an incredibly exciting time to be a Liverpool fan. Like again, we've just won the league. In case people have forgotten, we just won the league. Today is the parade. Everybody, I know what you're saying. The weather looks horrific, but everybody's having a great time. There's, by all accounts, well over 1 million people there, which really does just go to show Jurgen was right. It does mean more when it's us.
He does.
We have Jeremy Frimpong, Florian Wirtz, and Milos Kerkez looking likely arrivals. There will be a striker. I think there's going to be a couple more on top. I think there'll be a midfielder. I think there could be a centre-back. We know Mamardashvili's coming in as well. So, that's another one. That's 4 signings that should be done at the latest by early June. And more to come. And you can see a new manager, fresh ideas. He'll start to shape the team more on his own kind of wants now. And then there's little things, Gags, like have an Adidas back. Like, I know we're older now, so the kits are not as important to us. But I saw the pictures of you yesterday wearing that classic shirt from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of what great kits we used to have when we had Adidas back then and then again in the 2000s. And when you look at the kits Arsenal have had in recent years with Adidas, they've gone for a lot of those retro looks and they're incredible. And there's no reason that they can't replicate the kits of our past. That one you were wearing yesterday with the crown paints, standard chartered would basically fit nicely across if they just go with the words and ditch that stupid logo they've got.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And in fact, this kit, that kit that I was wearing yesterday, came out the last time we had Adidas. Like they re-released it. So I think the Crown Paints version is going to come out again as well. So like all of these kits will come back into the club shop or onto the club site, and it's going to be amazing because some of those Adidas ones are the best ones, you know, especially the 80s. The 80s Adidas kits were simplicity personified and beautiful. And I just, if the candy ones came out too, they would be amazing because those companies
100%.
don't exist anymore. So you can put those on the front.
And this is the thing. So when the Wirtz stuff was going on and people were saying, oh, well, like, you know, Bayern are hoping that Adidas will help them with the fee.
Why would they?
And this is what I was saying to people. I was like, okay, so Bayern own part of Bayern, or Adidas own part of Bayern Munich. So there's a partnership there that's, you know, very deep. However, their money with Bayern is kind of guaranteed no matter what. Like they're making the same amount of money with the Bayern deal forever. They've just signed us, and we have great history with them, including all those old replica kits, which they can re-release. There's much bigger financial incentive for them to aid us or to just stay out of it than there is to help Bayern and potentially piss off Liverpool and mean that this collaboration between Liverpool and Adidas is not the long-term partnership that certainly Adidas wanted to be. You know, Nike, by all accounts, quite upset that Liverpool decided to move on this summer. We know that a couple of years ago when it was New Balance, there ended up being a lawsuit because Liverpool were leaving and New Balance were upset. Liverpool is big business to be in. Liverpool are a more popular global club than Bayern Munich. And Bayern, they're a huge club and their fans will rightly defend them to the end of the earth. But we are a more popular club globally because English football is just more popular globally than German football is.
Massively. Globally, it's taken over. You know, it's huge levels. The amount of money they make from the foreign deals, you know, as you know, the Premier League make, and that's why the money is distributed. So it's just humongous to finish, you know, top of the league, and you know, and in the top four, really, you get so much money for it, and that's why, because it's the most popular, and that's why the other leagues cannot compete with Premier League clubs when they're going to buy players, apart from your Reals, Barca, they can't at the moment, but your Bayerns, even Bayern want freebies more than they want to pay.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
You know, so it's just no league has this power. And I think Liverpool Football Club right now, there's a chance here, Dave, to really stamp over the next 3-4 years the authority to being the big dog, you know, in English football and then worldwide, because everything seems to be right. And I know we probably shouldn't go there, but we're going to go there. I think, you know, we touched on, and this was before we even joined, folks. So, by the way, 1,500 of you live on here. Dave, if you want to retweet some of the tweets I've been doing, you can go and retweet, because then there might be more than 1,500 watching us live. But yeah, there's 1,500 already live, which is great on parade day. We appreciate you being here with us and not over on watching the parade. But yeah, I can tell you I'm watching it. You're not missing much. You're not missing much. But what we're going to talk about really is, and we touched on earlier, was that when we last won trophies and we didn't strengthen, I do get the feeling, and I may be wrong, and I know a lot of people are going to jump on me here, that Klopp may have been that blocker. I think the underdog story, and other people like Mo said it. I don't know if you saw this in one of the Mo interviews. Liverpool should not be an underdog. Liverpool should be the best and be treated as the best and should behave as the best. And I think, I don't know if that was a shot at him, and maybe it wasn't. My mind went to like, Klopp always talked about Rocky. Klopp's mindset is underdog.
Yeah.
Klopp's mindset was fighting from underneath and punching the guy above and winning, right? And that's where his mentality was. Nothing wrong with it. Fine. That's what he wanted. We've lived that. We've done that. And we succeeded at it against the hardest ever. And that's why it's a success, because it was against the team that was most impossible to beat, with how they cheated with money and, you know, everything in terms of Man City. But he still conquered them once, you know. And so at the end of the day, it worked. So it's not a shot at it. But what's nice about this time now, we've got a manager who's pretty ruthless, who'll go on to press conference and say, well, he's leaving now. Yeah, I asked him to do a bit more training, you know, about Trent. it's refreshing. Then the second thing is, he's like, yeah, bring you the players.
Yeah.
The stronger the team is, the better it'll do. Let's do it. It's like, I love that it's different now, and it's not a shot at Klopp, I promise. And I loved it. And like I said, I've tried to set this up by saying we enjoyed and appreciated everything before, but it's so good to be where we are now.
I said this a couple of years ago. I don't think Jurgen Klopp knows how good of a manager Jurgen Klopp is. And therefore, I think he always has in his own mindset that underdog mentality. And it likely comes from the fact that as a player, he was an underdog. And then at Mainz, he was an underdog. And then at Dortmund, he was an underdog. So, the vast majority of Jurgen Klopp's footballing life was spent at underdog clubs. And certainly when he joined us, we were looking up at Chelsea. We were looking up at United. We were looking up, and even that was United falling off. We were looking up at Arsenal. We were looking up at City. So we were kind of an underdog when he first came in as well. And I don't think he ever fully shook that. I also think Jurgen's kind of footballing philosophy and how he wants to build squads is very similar to what Rinus Michels used to preach about continuity and harmony in the squad. And I think Jurgen was willing to carry passengers if he felt like their off-field benefits were maybe enough to make up for what they lacked on the field. And there's a couple of obvious ones. There's no point in getting into them because they're gone now. And,
No.
But you know who I mean.
And look, I'm going to say it. Pep Squeak, as I call him now. I think we'll leave it at that.
That's the big issue for me is where I think Jurgen, after trusted the wrong people. I think Jurgen trusted the wrong people, and after we came so close to the quadruple, like remember as well. So we win the European Cup, we win the league. Then we have the season that's destroyed by injuries. Virgil, then Joel and Joe. Then we come back and we go for the quadruple. And the title goes to the final day, we fall short, and we lose that European Cup final. And it felt like Jurgen at that point maybe took a step away. Not physically, but mentally.
Yeah.
And also remember as well, in the season that was destroyed by injuries, Jurgen's mum died, who was a very important person in his life. And there was a kind of, I think, a notable change in his demeanor for a while after that, which is completely understandable. I think that period of time took a lot out of him. So I think he took a step back and he let Linders have a lot more control. And if you watch the football we played in 22-23 and 23-24, it didn't resemble Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool very much. It resembled more what Pep would eventually go on to do at Red Bull Salzburg, where he failed and was sacked in 6 months. I think Jurgen was kind of, and I've heard this from a few people, and I trust the people that told me this, so I'm going to say it. Jurgen basically thought Edwards was gone. They kind of pushed Ward out as well.
They did.
And Jurgen thought, I'll be the director of football. He's the head coach, and this is what we'll do. And I think that's basically how we ran for 2 years, with Jurgen more as like a general manager and Pep more of a head coach.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't work out for us. And I think ultimately FSG were not willing to go for this dynamic. And that's probably why Jurgen chose to leave. And
it didn't work at Red Bull either, mate.
No, it didn't work at Red Bull. But I also do wonder, do you remember when Arne was hired and Liverpool made a big point of saying he's the head coach, he's not the manager, he's the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And they hired Richard Hughes in as the director of football.
Yeah.
And I did wonder if that was almost Edwards having a little bit of a dig, because obviously Edwards and Klopp fell out. And
it's 100%, mate. I can't agree with you more. It is clear statement to say no longer do we want our manager doing too much. Focus on the job. And have you seen how well Richard Hughes and Slot get on? Like arm in arm, like arm on shoulder, whatever. Whenever they're together, You can see him having a proper good chin wag. There doesn't seem any like frostiness. It just all seems very natural. And I think Slot came out yesterday and said, we're all aligned and together. You know, at the club.
Look, it's not
everyone
a
knows where we're going.
It's not a coincidence that Jurgen announces he's leaving and Michael Edwards comes back. It's not a coincidence that Jurgen leaves and Julian Ward comes back.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like, if you look at our tenure under Jurgen, summer 2016, we recruit really well. Summer 2017, we recruit really well. We get Virgil in January 18, and then summer 18, we have a great summer. And that was when we had a very defined structure with Jurgen as manager and Michael Edwards as director of football or sporting director.
Yeah.
And obviously 2019 then is where things change and we don't really recruit. And I think that was where the fracture really started between the two of them. Then obviously the following summer, after we've won the title, like he was incredible to watch, and I love that he played for us. But Thiago didn't make sense as a Liverpool signing when you look at what we'd done to that point, the types of players we recruited, the age profile, the wage sort of band that we were recruiting for. Thiago was completely out from that. That seemed very much like a Jurgen pushed signing. Then
one, to be honest.
Possibly, yeah. Then we only signed Ibu in the summer of 2021.
We got Jota the same time as Thiago too, didn't we?
Jota the same, but Jota fit the Edwards method.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of 23, 24-year-old forward with numbers that we think will scale up. Thiago didn't really fit it. Ibu then the next summer, he fit all the statistical profiles, but he was the only signing we made, and that was odd. And that's where, like, that was kind of the end of the road between the two of them, because Edwards announces he's leaving a couple of months later, allegedly because Klopp had blocked a couple of moves that he wanted to make or whatever. Edwards goes, and when you look at the recruitment after that, Darwin, he's won a league title with us and he won a cup with us, and it's great. But ultimately, the Darwin Núñez experience has failed at Liverpool. Diaz, like he had a great start to this season and a good end to this season, but the middle part was bad. He was bad last season. He was poor the year before. Like, it hasn't been a runaway success, but we will probably make a profit on him, so that's ultimately great. Cody, he's had good moments and bad moments. He's frustrating. He's a little bit inconsistent. He's clearly a good player. Is he one that Edwards and co would have bought? I don't know. Nobody will know. And then you look at the midfield.
I think he's just good for keeping the squad.
So do I. No, I like having Cody as a squad player.
Yeah.
But we spent 40-odd million on him, and because we're Liverpool, 40-odd million kind of dictates that you're a starter. And Cody's not going to be a nailed-on starter for us, I don't think, at any point. It's just like the recruitment went away from what had been so successful for us. Now I think it's going to be back to what's been so successful. And, you know, when you look at Frimpong, and I have some concerns about him defensively, but he's clearly like he's a player. If we were keeping Trent and looking to bring in a backup or, you know, a versatile squad player, great. Frimpong would be unbelievable as a game breaker who can play multiple positions. So that'll be fine. Kirkes made a ton of sense as a Jurgen signing and would have made a ton of sense with Trent. With Frimpong, it's a bit too attacking maybe, but when you think of Kirkes and Wirtz down that left and what that could be.
But if Wharton signs, does it make more sense?
A little bit, yeah, because we get a lot stronger in midfield defensively because Wharton's a significantly better defensive player than Gravenberch. And it also then, Wharton replaces Trent's passing. Now look, Gravenberch had a good season. He had a very good first half of the season. He hasn't been good in the second half, but it's still a big step up from where he was last year. The hope will be that next season...
I enjoyed him yesterday, though, Dave. I thought he was back to being a little bit better. I mean, out of the midfield, I mean, probably wasn't hard, but he looked a bit better than everybody else.
He had a couple of good dribbles, but he was very lucky not to get booked in the first half, and then he did get sent off ultimately. And can we just say, that dive was magnificent. absolutely magnificent. That's the Micah Richards dive from years
Oh yeah,
ago.
I need to see a replay because I was there, so I need
It
to watch
is just tremendous, and the best part was him going trying to plead his innocence. But
Yeah, like,
I
I
didn't
didn't
actually appeal for penalty, but you did dive, son. So get up.
I wanted to go back to Wharton. Did you see the Glasner stuff in the post match where he said
No.
some players didn't want to? He goes, some players didn't want to turn up and didn't want to play.
Well, my understanding is that Wharton has a concussion.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't Wharton then. That's fine. But I mean, he did say that. Why did you travel if you didn't want to play? Like he's pointing it at some people, or I don't know what he was, but there's something going on there. I don't know, but it would be interesting if he was one of those players. And there's been rumors that he's been talking to us, or but I guess
his agent and father.
His agent's talking to everybody at the moment. So, but yeah, it would be a good one, and I think that would explain how you strengthen, and then also that means Maka, Grav, Dom, all actually can rotate and stay fit the whole season. In those two places for those two spots, and it's much better for us that way.
Because if you look at it, then we'll have for the double pivot for the two roles. If Endo leaves, so be it. Like he's way overperformed expectation, and he had some vital moments in this title run as well.
Absolutely.
But let's say he goes and Wharton comes in, right? Let's just say it's Wharton. So Endo wasn't trusted to start games, though his performance away to Chelsea was actually really good. Was Chelsea, wasn't it? Did he start? I think. Was it Chelsea that Endo started? I think it was Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was by far our best player. But he wasn't trusted to start. But Wharton would be trusted to start. So you go Wharton, McAllister, Gravenberch, and Curtis, and Dom, right? They could all play in the double pivot in different combinations. Then you have, for the 10, you have Dom, you have Curtis. I think Grav would be worth a look there. Just out of curiosity, Alexis could play there. And obviously Florian Wirtz can play there. So now you've got tons more options. You've got all these different combinations that Arna can try.
Yeah.
And it could really give us a massive improvement in midfield. Like Wharton and McAllister as a double pivot is going to be the most high IQ midfield English football has seen since Michael Carrick and Paul Scholes were playing next to each other. They are two genius level footballers. Then if you have Dom in front of them as the 10, you get your running power, you get that tracker who can come back and help out. And all of a sudden that midfield gives you real balance. You've got on and off ball strengths there. You can swap out McAllister for Grav and get a completely different look, where Gravenberch can now give you that option of receiving on the half turn and spinning into space. And now you're able to carry the ball at a higher level than you were.
Yeah. You
could play Gravenberch in the 10 role. And I said when we signed him, like, his best attribute is his ball carrying. It's not even close. Like, it's by far his best attribute. And his best attribute off the ball is his ability to press and jump passing lanes. He's got extraordinarily long legs, and he picks passes off at a good clip.
Yeah.
The player comp for him is Yaya Toure. I'm not saying he's going to be Yaya, but he could be like 75% of him maybe. And that, not in every game, obviously, but that could be an option that Arna turns to. Because if Gravenberch is playing that bit higher up, let's say he's playing as the 10 and and he's playing in space. If Ryan Gravenberch is picking the ball up 25 yards from goal and able to turn, a defender's going to have to come and meet him. And unlike Dom, who doesn't back himself to beat a defender on the dribble, Gravenberch will back himself to beat anybody on the dribble. So if he beats that man, now all of a sudden it's a scrambling defence and there's space opening up. So that's going to give Arna a different look as well.
And I'd love for him to be further up as well. Like, I think there's more to come from Grav at Liverpool, and from what he's doing now, there's so much more to grow up from and do and show us like what he did at Ajax and stuff. It just there could be another level to him, which is great. I know we talked Wharton and the midfield, and you just touched on Wirtz there. I haven't heard anything of the pods about you talking to Wirtz, so I want to hear and get excited more about what you think this does for Liverpool and how does it change the game from the Premier League perspective as well for Liverpool in terms of signing someone like him. What does that do?
So if you consider this past season that we've just been through, right, our means of progression from back to front have been Trent's passing and Gravenberch's carrying ability. So let's say for a second, Frimpong is replacing Trent, and let's say it's Wharton is coming in to play in midfield and supplement. So now we have him as the passer and Frimpong as the carrier. So we've replicated those two in the deep phases. But when you get into those advanced phases, one of the things we did struggle with at times this year, when Mo wasn't quite on it, our creativity in the final third wasn't really there. But Trent, for years, has been this just incredible player who can unlock a defence with a cross or a pass. You've got others that can do little bits. Alexis has a little shimmy and a little slide ball. Thiago's done it over the years for us. But we haven't had that kind of, that pure creative force. Mo has developed into something similar, but with Mo, I really want him getting closer to goal, and I want someone putting chances on a plate for him. Often it's been Trent. So even though we'd be replacing the deep side of our game from Trent and Grav with Frimpong and Wharton, we would be losing what Trent offers in that final third. Well, Florian Wirtz not only replaces that, but he is a significantly better final third creator than Trent. He's an outstanding passer of the ball. He's an incredible dribbler. He's got a gravity to him that twists how defenses have to cope with you. And what I mean by that is you can't ever take your eyes off him. They cannot allow him to pick up space with nobody around him. Someone's always got to be tasked with picking up. Similar with Mo. When we watch Liverpool play now, you rarely see Mo unless he's way out from goal. You rarely see Mo in space. If he's within 20 yards of the goal, he's got someone locked up tight to him. Wirtz is going to command that same type of respect. The problem for opposition teams is if you're doing that, now two of your back four are laser focused. And Liverpool are going to have overlapping fullbacks. So now you need to have your wingers chasing back after our fullbacks. You're also going to need your midfielders to be super disciplined, because if Alexis McAllister or Dom Szoboszlai find space, one of your centre-backs has to go and deal with them if a midfielder's not coping with them. And then you're potentially leaving your striker in a 1v1 situation. If you think back to when we had Suarez, and he would just take defenders here, there, and everywhere because they couldn't leave him alone.
Yeah.
And we'd end up with Coutinho and Sterling and Sturridge 1v1 constantly. That's the type of gravity that Florian Wirtz will bring to this team, where Mo is going to get 1v1s and our 9 is going to get 1v1s and Dom coming from midfield will get 1v1s and the fullbacks are going to launch themselves into space because defenders are going to be so hyper-focused on making sure Wirtz and making sure Salah don't beat them that they're going to, at times, they're just going to have lapses. They're just not going to be the bodies there. Someone's going to miss a rotation. Someone's going to fail to track a run. And we are just going to get more and more opportunities, more and more space and more time. But with Wirtz, it's that ability to take the ball into any situation under pressure and have the complete confidence that you are going to not only take that ball in, but make something happen from it. The only other player we've had in the Klopp era, well, two players that we've had in the Klopp era who gave you that option. Phil Coutinho, you always felt comfortable giving the ball to Phil because his technical level was so high. And Thiago.
Yes.
And there's a bit of and there's a bit of both of them in Florian Wirtz. When he's dribbling with the ball, it's a bit more Thiago-esque. It's a bit more of a gliding style. Like Phil had this jinky style of running.
Yeah.
Thiago would glide past players without seemingly having a great burst of speed. He could just accelerate and decelerate really well, and he'd throw defenders off. And that kind of unusual rhythm to the run, it makes it hard for people to track him. It also helps them win quite a few free kicks.
And the ball control was insane at the same time.
And again, this is what Florian Wirtz has. Like, his technical level is just off the charts.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I think he's going to play from the left, well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, if you just watch him play, he plays the majority of his football from the left. Now, he does have license to roam here and there, but people seem to forget he doesn't play as a 10 for Bayer Leverkusen, because Bayer Leverkusen don't play with the 10. Bayer Leverkusen play what is a glorified 3-4-3, and he plays to the left side of that. Does he play slightly withdrawn? Yes, he does. But he plays to the left of it, and he operates quite a bit in the left-hand side. Not as a winger. When I've said this on Twitter that I think he'll play from the left, people seem to think I'm talking about him being Stuart Downing and standing on the touchline getting chalk in his boots. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about in the left half space, where when we played under Klopp in that first full season, 16-17, Sadio was on the right, Bobby was through the middle, and Phil played from the left.
Yeah.
Even under Rodgers in the 4-2-3-1, Phil played from the left because he signed Adam Lallana for unknown reasons to play as a 10. If you play Wirtz in that left half space with an overlapping machine like Kirkes coming down the flank and a high IQ player like Alexis McAllister interchanging with him, you will unlock a whole new variety of ways for Liverpool to attack teams. There's obviously times where you'll want him in that number 10 spot, and there'll be a bunch of teams where he can play there. But let's just say we don't upgrade the double pivot. Dom is the primary reason we've gotten away with that midfield off the ball this season, because Gravenberch is not good defensively. What he's good at is going and pinching the ball high up the pitch. His defensive traits are better suited almost to like Klopp's old gegenpressing, which is much more of an attacking thing, trying to turn the ball up higher, and catching defenses who are, again, trying to relocate and scramble themselves. Gravenberch doesn't have a great positional sense. He's not great at tracking runners. But Dom has been such a monster at coming back that he's been able to give a dig out.
Yeah.
If you lose Dom in the middle, our midfield gets walked through. Like we had games this season where Curtis played the 10, and Curtis is very good off the ball, and we struggled in the midfield.
Yeah.
Dom is a necessity in the 10 spot. I know people are going, he doesn't get the goals and assists. I think he had 15 goals and assists in the league this year, which is really good for a Liverpool midfielder. 17
goal involvements, actually, So it's more than,
Like, that's really good for a Liverpool midfielder. Like, do people not remember the seasons where we had Henderson, Fabinho, and Ginny? They might get 5 goal involvements between them.
They wouldn't get, they wouldn't get that combined. Mr. Ecker, I don't know if you see the comments coming up on the screen as well, Dave, but Mr. Ecker says Wirtz is a 10, a false 9, and an inside winger. So he is Coutinho, Bobby in one player. He's a bit of De Bruyne as well, but plays a lot more higher. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I don't like the idea of him as a false 9. I think that he can definitely play there. I'm not saying he can't. I just think it's kind of a waste of him, because if he's playing as a false 9, you're playing into him. I want him being the one playing that final ball. I want him more involved in the build-up play than, being kind of a focal point at the top of it. I think we need to buy a striker. I think we will buy a striker. I don't think Liverpool have any intention of playing him as a false 9, but he can certainly play there. But when I say playing him off the left, again, I'm not talking about as a winger. I'm talking about as an inside left in that half space, which, if people go back and watch Arna's Feyenoord team, Paxio played that left-sided role, and it's a left-wing 10 hybrid type of position where he's playing narrow, but he has the freedom to drift out. So he's not limited to one area or another. And he was able to, he would move into the 10, you'd find him on the right. Arna's great at giving players freedom. He's great at making things work. He's great at working out rotations. So just as an example, right? Let's just say we have the ball, we're building from the back, and we start to move bodies in midfield. Alexis starts to drift left. Dom can drop into midfield and Wirtz can float into the centre. And what you do by doing that is the opposition start to look for their man. So Dom's man looks for Dom and sees him 15 yards deeper and thinks, oh, I need to be on him. So now he goes tracking him into midfield. Alexis's man looks around for him and sees him on the left wing and goes tracking him out. And all of a sudden, if Florian Wirtz's fella doesn't track him in field, now Florian Wirtz is open in the middle of the park. Feyenoord were masters at making defenders have to think and make decisions. The best thing you can do to a defense is make them make decisions.
Yeah, that's it.
And if one person misses their rotation, that's all it takes is one person to miss the rotation, which in this scenario will be that right back tracking in field after Wirtz, because he's naturally going to think, well, someone else will pick him up. I'm focused on McAllister coming towards me. And if one player misses their rotation, all of a sudden you've got a free man somewhere. It could be Wirtz as the 10, it could be McAllister on the wing, it could be Dom in a little bit of a deeper role. We'll have the ability to just shape change more. The other reason I think Wirtz off the left works well is because off ball, I think it suits him better to be in a flanking role than in a central role.
Right. That makes sense.
Because I don't think you want to overtax him off the ball. I think you want to keep him so that, 30% of his energy is spent off the ball and 70% is spent on the ball. Because it's on the ball, that's where he's a magician. If you wanted somebody that was an off-ball monster, you'd spend this money on Carlos Baliba or somebody like that. You wouldn't spend it on Florian Wirtz.
No. So, Wirtz, that sounds really exciting. However it plays out, it's going to be a game changer. So then, obviously, Darwin's going. So there's going to be a spot to fill there. Maybe Jota goes too. There's going to be a spot to fill. Which is your number one and two? I mean, I guess it's Alvarez. There's rumors coming out of Spain right now that Alvarez is going to stay in Atleti. But let's just put that to the side for a second, because I'm guessing he's going to be your number one. But who are your top two? Just say, okay, let's say Alvarez. We know Alvarez is your number one. So I'll put that to the side. If it's not Alvarez, who are your next two that you want the club to go for as a striker option?
I think the two obvious ones would be the two Victors.
Right.
So you've got Victor Osimhen, who's obviously a phenomenal footballer, a force of nature. But there's been some rumors that he's, problematic off the pitch, and he can be a little bit moody, and he can be a bit of a diva and a tantrum thrower. How true these things are, though, I don't really know. I know he took a stand against the national team, and he sort of refused to play for them for a couple of games. But I actually thought he was standing on his merits there. I know he had the falling out at Napoli, but again, from the outside looking in and speaking to a few people that cover Serie A for a living, they all said this is more a Napoli thing than a Victor Osimhen thing. And when you look at the fact that Napoli won a league title and their manager quit immediately, their star centre-back ran to Munich as quickly as he could, and their sporting director bounced to Juve. Then the following summer, Osimhen pushes his way out, and he's willing to go anywhere to get away from them. He goes on loan to the Turkish league, which is way below his talent level. Just to get away from Napoli, he went to Turkey. And then this season, in the middle of a year where they're top of the table, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia is like, I have to get out of here immediately.
Yeah.
That tells me something's a little bit rotten within Napoli. And I would say all signs point that it's the owner, who seems like a terrible set of lads.
Yeah.
So I don't buy much of the stuff against Osimhen. What I do think could be a concern, There is a history of injuries, though most of them are impact injuries.
Right.
But there have been a couple of hamstring problems, and the wages are likely to be exceptionally high.
Right. Okay.
Part of that is he has Saudi interest, so he's obviously going to use that as a bargaining chip. So for me, I look at Victor Gyökeres, and I know people have a bit of PTSD from Darwin coming from Portugal. Darwin wasn't doing in Portugal what this fella is doing.
Oh, he scored 53 goals or something.
He scored 54 goals and had 13 assists in 52 games this season, right? 67 goal involvements in about 4,300 minutes. I don't care what level you're doing it at. That is absolutely outstanding. But it's not one season. Darwin, the issue was, it was one season of good data. Well, last season, Victor Gyökeres scored 43 goals with 15 assists. So 58 goal involvements in 4,200 minutes. So he's got 2 seasons of elite production in the Portuguese league. And he's done it in Europe as well. Then you look at when he was at Coventry. So there's 2 good seasons at Coventry, 22 and 12 in the Championship. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. And the year before that, which was kind of his first breakout year, he was 18 and 5. So you've got 4 successive strong years. Yes, they're not at the Premier League level. They're at levels below that. But he has gotten better each year. And when he stepped up from the Championship to the Portuguese League, he went mental. And those
half of that, if there's 50% tax, we'll take half of it. And
exactly.
Like it's fine. 25 goals, like 26 goals. Woohoo! That's amazing.
So if you're talking about a guy that in 2 seasons has 125 goal contributions in I think 102 games.
Insane, mate.
Like you said, if you're getting that over, if you're getting half that over 2 seasons, if he's 20 and 10, if he's 20 or 25 and 5, if you're getting 30 goal contributions on top of what Mo offers, and let's not forget, Florian Wirtz isn't just a goal maker. He's also a goal taker. Last season when they won the league, I think he was 18 goals and 20 assists in all competitions.
Wow.
I think we'll see Szoboszlai step up next season as well, because again, if he's now got 2 elite creators to his sides, and his primary role is get your arse in the box, get yourself beyond that number 9, make those runs, I think Dom could have a big step up in goals as well. So,
you know, remember the fullbacks when we had Trent and Robbo in their pomp, they would get round players with the pace, you know, because the way we pass.
Yeah,
it wasn't. They weren't great dribblers, but it's the pace, the passing of pace and the movement you'd be in behind. They don't do that anymore because they don't have that power anymore. They are getting older. I think even Trent, you know, there's a loss in some of his.
Trent seemed to put on quite a bit of muscle at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, and
like he seemed to bulk up, and it and became a bit of a slower paced player.
And Robbo's just getting old, so it's just you can see that he's not as fast and not making those runs, although and his touch is gone, and it's kind of it's gone here in the brain. I think he's lost a bit of confidence, so he's kind of making those mistakes. Whereas you bring younger players in who are more free, or you know, what's the word? No fear. You know,
Perez is too young. And because he's too young, he's too stupid to not be full of confidence. Because you remember when you were 21 years of age, Gags, you thought you could do absolutely everything. Because I was the same. At 21, you don't know anything other than I'm fucking class. Excuse me for swearing, but it was necessary. So this is the thing. You add Frimpong and Kirkes, who are they are turbocharged.
Yeah.
Frimpong is turbocharged, supercharged, and he's got a rocket up his bum. Them 2 boys overlapping with the 2 creative lads on the flanks, and Dom, and McAllister, and Wharton. Like, all of a sudden, you've just got weapons everywhere. And that's obviously assuming Wharton. Wharton shouldn't be assumed, but we'll have weapons everywhere. And Julian Alvarez is my number 1 pick.
Yeah.
However, However, I do kind of feel like Gyökeres might make a bit more sense in terms of just a pure goal scorer. Alvarez is a production machine. He gets goals and assists in great numbers as well, but he is smaller. He's 5'8", 5'9". Gyökeres is 6'1", 6'2". He's well built. He's quicker than you think. He's better in the air than people expect. And if you've got two lads who are getting round our wingers or our wide players and crossing, you've got those two wide players clipping balls in and around. I think Gyökeres could score stupid amounts in this team.
What about Sesko?
I think he's too raw. There's parts of Sesko's game I like, and the same with Ekitike. I think there's parts of their games that I like.
Well, Grizz is just saying that he might be like close to Chelsea at the moment.
Ekitike.
Yeah.
I hope so.
He's so expensive as well. Like he's going to be 90
far too expensive. Far too expensive, and I think Sesko's too expensive as well. And I also think Arsenal will ultimately get Sesko because I think Arteta has been obsessed with him for quite a while.
I haven't watched. I don't watch Gyökeres or Sesko. What's the difference between the two? Like how do they pair up? Because that's the two that are being linked to a lot of teams,
a lot of clubs. Yeah. By all accounts, they're the two Arsenal are trying to pick between.
Yeah.
Sesko. I just don't think there's any area Sesko's got. He's decent off both feet. That's interesting. He's 6'5", and that's interesting. And he's a kind of freakish athlete in terms of not so much his pace, although he is quick enough, but like he can just hang in the air for seemingly endless amounts of times.
So Arsenal's set piece coach is signing this player.
Yeah, basically, Arteta wants a team of big lads, like big lads, to just maximize it.
It does usually work in leagues, like it is one of those things that we talked about in the past, that if you have a lot of tall players in the league, you do have there's an advantage to your team.
Look, when I look at Gyökeres, I think that there's two players he reminds me of. One is Harry Kane. I think from his build, his skill set, I think he's very Kane-esque. Not saying he's going to be as good as Kane was in the Premier League, but I think he's Kane-esque. The other one, though, is Ruud van Nistelrooy, and this is something I've kind of seen more and more this season. Gyökeres' movement is absolutely sensational. Like, his timing of runs is ridiculous. And what he does that Ruud used to do is he's got enough pace that he doesn't always need to be in and around the penalty box. He can drop off, and then he can make a run, a late run. And if he gets goal side of a defender, there is no way you're getting back in front of him. He uses his body incredibly well to shield the ball and keep the ball where he wants. And his finishing is just, I mean, you don't score the number of goals he scored in the last 2 seasons.
No, you don't.
So like again, this goes back to the Darwin thing. Darwin was, even in that season at Sporting when he scored, or at Benfica when he scored a lot of goals, he was still a very erratic finisher. He still missed a lot of chances. Sesko, there's a couple of things I don't like, right? Number one, he's an erratic finisher because he's very young. He struggles with 1v1s because he's very young. I've never seen him play as a sole striker. I've never seen him play as a sole striker. Now, right. I haven't watched every game, admittedly, but at Salzburg and at Leipzig, he's playing in a 2 because that's the Red Bull way. They play 2 up front. So I don't know what he looks like as a lone striker. I've seen him do it for Slovenia, but I don't factor in international games, especially when you're playing for a lesser national team. Like, it would be unfair to judge him from international football. There's a lot of things about his game that are promising. His hold-up play is quite good. His link play is good. His passing can be a little bit loose. But again, he's really young. But he's the big thing for me, Gags, is he's a project. And Ekitiki's a project. And I don't think we need a project. I think we need someone that's going to come in, split the goal-scoring burden with Mo, and then when Mo goes in 2, 3, 4 years, Gyökeres takes on the mantle for a couple of years while we reorientate around him.
Tom James says Gyökeres' control, stride, and finishing style is very Torres-like.
Yeah, and do you know that typical Torres finish Stevie picks the ball up.
Side foot.
Yeah, you close your eyes and you picture the goal. Stevie picks the ball up on the half turn from Alonso, drives into the opposition half. Torres shifts out to the left. Stevie plays it into his path. He squares up the defender, knocks it by him, gets round him, and just arcs it into that bottom corner, the far bottom corner. Gyökeres does that goal once a month.
You worried about his age? He's going to be 27 soon in June.
That's the one. That's the one thing that makes me think maybe we don't go with him.
It'd be a 3-year deal, not a 4 or 5.
No, I think you give him 5. Because look, even if you get 2 or 3 great years out of him, you can sell him to Saudi with 2 years left in his deal. And
did he start late in his career as well? Like kind of, because he's not been overplayed as a kid, so that you can go a bit longer. Like it's the other way around. Like Trent's been playing for so long that he might have already had his peak.
See, this is the thing. And, with Gyökeres, he was at Brighton. And again, this also feeds into it. If Brighton signs someone in the Tony Bloom era, I tend to think that's a pretty good player in the making. So Gyökeres was at a team in Sweden whose name I will not pronounce for fear of butchering it. He played 67 games, scored 25 goals, and went to Brighton in the summer of 2017. He played a total of 8 games for them over 4 years, but he was out on loan for 3 different seasons. He went to St. Pauli in the 2nd division in Germany, 7 goals in 28. Went on loan to Swansea. It didn't work out, 1 goal in 12. Went to Coventry in the summer of 2020 in the January of 2021 on loan, 3 goals in 19. Joined them permanently. And then once he had a home where he felt like he was believed in, and he's spoken about this, how he never felt like Brighton fully trusted him, how when he went to Swansea, they basically said to him, like, even if you do really well here, we can't afford to keep you. So, like, don't rent, don't buy, that kind of thing. But when he went to Coventry, Mark Robbins basically put his arm around him and says, you're my guy. You're the guy I'm going to build this team around. And he was brilliant for them for 2 years. And when he went to Sporting, Ruben Amorim said to him, you're the striker I've been waiting for since I got here. And I'm building this team around you. And so he's exploded at Sporting. And last summer, he had offers. He could have gone to Chelsea. He could have gone to Arsenal. Amorim said to him, I want you to stay. I'm staying. Let's go and win a league title. So he stayed, and then obviously Amorim leaves in November. But like the thing with him is he just gets better every year, and even at international level. And again, not to put anything into it, but 10 goals in his last 7 caps. He's transferring that performance level to international level too. So he's in such a groove right now. The concern, like you said, is his age. But you look at a player that's only ever missed 4 games through injury. He had a minor knee issue at the end of last season. So he took the 2 international games at the end of the season. He didn't play in them. And then he had a minor thigh problem this season where he missed a week and a half. Missed 2 games. That was it. He's had one other game out through rest. That's it. He doesn't get hurt.
Tom James likes him because he's also a psycho. I mean, as long as he doesn't bite people, we'll be all right,
Yeah, no, his psychotic tendencies tend to be more channeled towards absolutely ruining the lives of defenders as opposed to like scarring them with his teeth or anything like that. I just think he's the type whose game will age really well. You look back again at Harry Kane, who I think Harry Kane is 32 this year.
Yeah.
No, 31 he's 32 this year.
Yeah.
And like Kane's game has aged really well. And he's still scoring for fun. And remember, Spurs sold him at 30 for 80 million quid or something?
So you're saying we should look at the numbers and, if we did get him at 27, we'd get 2-3 great years out of him. And that's all, to be honest, the focus should be to win.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I look at it as, Yeah, Wirtz is a long-term signing. Kirkes is a long-term signing. Frimpong is a long-term signing.
Yeah.
But I think we need a couple of, and they will help us immediately. But I also think, I think in the number 9 position, go and get a win now player. Let's go and maximize the final years of Mo, Virgil, and Ali.
Yeah.
Let's put as much as we can into making sure that when they leave this club, there's no more medals left on the table.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Mo and Virgil and Ali have had conversations about how unfortunate they've been. Like, if not for the city cheating, if not for our own failures at times, if not for being too frugal in the market, they would have a lot more medals. Now I think is the time to repay their faith in the club. I said on the Daily Red today, like, you're the same kind of age as me, Gags. If you look at the great players we've had since the 90s, McManaman, he pushed to leave and left. Fowler maybe didn't push to leave, but he also got injured and wasn't quite the same.
Yeah,
Owen pushed to leave and left. Gerrard pushed to leave, didn't leave ultimately, but came very close.
Suarez.
Alonso left, Mascherano left, Torres left, Suarez left, Coutinho left, Sterling left, and all of them pushed to leave. All of them agitated to leave. Yeah. Even in the Klopp team, Sadio left. Sadio chose to leave. Fabinho chose to leave. The only 3, other than Robbie Fowler, and Trent obviously is leaving, but the only 3 truly, truly great players we've had in the last 35 years that have never agitated to leave, never even hinted at wanting to leave: Ali, Virgil, Mo.
Yeah.
So let's reward them for it. Let's reward their loyalty by putting the best possible team on the pitch. And I think Victor Gyökeres can be that for us. And I say 2 to 3 years. Maybe he comes in and he scores 25, 30 goals a season for 5 years, because his game should age really well. You know, and who knows what kind of player we'll eventually replace Mo with, but let's just say in a dream world it's someone like a Michael Olise. Well, now you're adding another elite creator to replace an elite creator, so Gyökeres is going to still have those supply lines. I still would lean Julian Alvarez because I just love him as a player. Yeah. I think he's the one that kind of knits teams together. You look at what he's done with Argentina and how he's helped prolong Messi's career for the national team and helped him win a World Cup. You look at what he's done at Atleti this past season, really giving Griezmann another lease on life. I think he could do the same for Mo. And he gives you the kind of option to go front 2, Alvarez and Mo. Dom can shift right, Wirtz is on the left. Both of them are narrow, double pivot, overlapping fullbacks, a 4-4-2, 4-box-2 type thing. And we could absolutely tear teams apart in that way as well. So he gives you flexibility, and he's obviously a great player too.
Yeah, Mr. Catcake goes on that basis. Would you not just go all out to bring Kane back? No, because he's 31, 32, and this guy's 27. I think what you're saying is what we're trying to say is you don't just go totally crazy and start signing 30-year-olds. I think this guy as well, the Ankara chef, saying age shouldn't worry us if we signed 30-year-olds. But yeah, the 30-year-olds were with us and they've won everything with us. So re-signing them, because like Dave just said, they've never agitated to leave. They've never wanted to leave. They want to be here. And also they're still in their prime. Like Mo's just had his best numbers ever. Verge is looking back to being prime Verge after, having a serious injury 2.5, 3 years ago. Yeah. So I don't think that you can compare. The stuff you're saying doesn't compare.
You also have to factor in, though, it's not just about scoring the goals. It's about the other parts of the game, particularly when your team doesn't have the ball. We already make allowances for Mo. We couldn't make allowances for Mo and Kane, who's basically a statue when his team doesn't have the ball these days because he's got bad ankles. So you look at the teams around Europe who play 2 forwards who don't help out defensively. Well, the most obvious one is Real Madrid with Vinicius and Mbappe, who could help out but choose not to. Well, what did Real Madrid win this year? A couple of corner kicks. That's about the most they won this year. You look at the PSG teams of the recent years with Neymar and Mbappe. What did they win? A few French league titles that nobody cares about. But the minute they're both gone, PSG all of a sudden favourites to win the Champions League?
We should wrap up soon because the parade is looking absolutely gorgeous now with them coming up to the end. But so you love insider stuff. So there's someone in our chat called Harrison who says that apparently we're genuinely looking at Gyökeres as our top target, and that's from a club insider. Well, share your insiders with us, please. We'd love to know who that club insider is. But yeah, if that's the case, then I'm sure Dave will be happy with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this was a great hour and 15, Dave. Appreciate you doing this on last minute notice as well. I only contacted you earlier today to ask if you had the time. I certainly did, as it's a day off today on a Monday, which is nice, and get it done early. But I think there's a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of people on Twitter watching us who know us, who know you especially. But there'll be a few on YouTube who are asking, you know, where my regular guests are, who join with me. And I said, well, this is the guy that's normally on with me. So we go back to 2011 when Anfield Index started, and he was a subscriber writer firstly, and then became a writer, then became a podcaster in 2013. So this is this is the regular, not the irregular. I would say he's just not on YouTube with us, but if he's happy to do stuff like this and be the voice of the voiceless, of the faceless, maybe. We are fine to do it like this. I'm completely comfortable with doing these shows and being the face and Dave being the voice, because I just sat here making smiley faces most of the hour and 15 minutes. So it's completely fine. But yeah, it's Dave. Great to have you here, and great to I don't have to say anyway. You know how important you are to Anfield Index, and you know we're trying to do something different on YouTube. It's good to have you on here, and yeah, I'm sure the YouTube folks that are totally separate, and believe me, they are two separate. The podcast people don't watch YouTube. Literally, they don't. They're here now because you're here. But so we would like you to come and subscribe, and subscribe. Dave might come on more, and we'll do more old school on YouTube if you like and subscribe. It's free.
Well, how many subscribers does Anfield Index have now on YouTube?
Nearly 12,000 in 6 months, dude. It's insane growth. Like
right. Well, when we get to 20,000, I'll come back on, and we'll set a new target at that, and then we'll work from there. And then if we get to a certain amount, and maybe I might make it a more regular thing. And I might even fix the camera on my computer at some point soon. I think I need a new computer.
You'll have the same background as me and stuff like that, and we'll have scouted or two-footed on your background instead, and you know we'll get you a green screen. We'll sort it all out so it looks exactly like ours. It'll be like a studio, so it'll be awesome. But yeah, Dave, you're welcome anytime. And guys, if you don't listen to the podcast side, because we're now building these two separate entities, go and subscribe, because that's Dave's realm. If you enjoyed this, AnfieldIndexPro.com, sign up. It's all there. And all of those that are from AI Pro are here, like and subscribe, mates. Help us out. That'll be great. We'll keep growing. And then Dave will come back if you keep growing it as well. So yeah, Dave, like I said to folks, we go back long time. The reason why the pod's called Old School is because we are the OGs, like Tom just said, on Anfield Index. And you know, it's just very, very smooth conversation when we get together, because we've been doing this for over a decade now, which is crazy. And I've gone grey, mate. You know?
Oh, don't you worry, mate. Don't you worry. I am nearly fully grey. Actually, before we go, I did want to ask something. So if you can pull up your Twitter account there, please, Gags.
I can.
You posted a picture yesterday of yourself and a group of people. You are in a delightful Liverpool zip-up. Who are the people in this picture? Now, obviously, I recognise two. The man, I believe, as I look at it, over your right shoulder, but to the left as we look at it, is Cam, yeah?
Yeah. Let me just get this up. If Eddie's still here, maybe Eddie can do it. I don't want to destroy what we've set up here, Eddie, but let me try and present. One sec. Get this out here. Right, I've got the picture up. So, present. Share screen. Gags on X. Here we go. Right, I'm going to share. So,
Right.
okay, that's fine. So it's just replaced your picture. So can you see the picture here, folks? So
Yes.
the guy on, so when we look at the picture on the right, that's my nephew. So when I say family, that's what I meant. My brother's son,
Okay.
right? There's Dan Kennett and Cam.
No, that's
Yeah.
Richard Hughes.
No, that's Starmer.
Has
Come
anyone
on,
seen
listen,
Keir
look.
Starmer, Richard Hughes, and Dan Kennett in the same room at the same time? I wouldn't imagine so.
Right. So then next to me, on my left here is Kev Hegarty, who's come from the US yesterday.
So Kev is which one now? He's in the front row.
Yeah, no, just next to me, next to my. So when you look at me on my left, looking at me at my left, Kev in the Liverpool shirt, the green collar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then that's Cal next to him. He's a long time subscriber listener from like when we started, and behind him is Rob C. Both of these guys have been listening since 2013, dude. Like the Suarez years. So both of these guys are in Discord and wanting to meet up. And then the one at the back next to Cam is Rob's friend Stu, but he's also Anfield Index subscriber as well. So we met up with some subscribers and listeners who've been listening to us since 2013. Like that's a long time ago.
That's an awful long time to be listening to me.
Yes. Like literally people have grown. Like I just want to say this, and it's going to freak you out because this is your day to day. You do it day to day all the time. Like this is your life podcasting. People are growing up listening to you, mate.
Yeah, I know. It's nuts.
It's flipping insane. Like it's insane. And like just being with them, going to lunch with them, listening to the experiences of, listening to the pods and, oh my God, at this time, this happened and that time. It's just like, honestly, this Anfield Index is a blessing. It's amazing when you get to meet these people. And, if we win the league again next year, dude, you got to come over to Anfield for a party. And you'll see, because a lot of people will turn up and you'll just get to speak to all these people that listen to you and you'll blow your socks off, mate. It will absolutely, it's insane. And we've just got a super chat for $2 from Yanis. Someone tell TAA it means more. Well, I'm sure plenty did. There's a million people on the streets telling him Yanis. And by the way, we very, very much appreciate your super chat there for $2. Thank you so much. But yeah, I'm sure he's seen it on the streets. But yeah, Dave, next year we got to make it happen because we're going to retain, and when we retain, we party like it's 2026.
I don't know about this retaining stuff. I just see Premier League and Champions League doubles in our future.
There you go.
I genuinely think that, again, to go just quickly back to where we were earlier, we were talking about how exciting a time this is to be a Liverpool fan. Like, the landscape of English football is also shifting because Pep is not going to be at City for much longer. Maybe 2 more seasons, more likely, I think, just 1 more season.
Yeah,
and when he goes, they'll still be there, but they're not going to have Pep. And whoever they get to replace him will not be Pep. We obviously look at Arsenal. There's no evidence they can win anything.
Arteta's going to go there.
Yeah, I think so too. And the thing is, if you look at this Arsenal group, there's no evidence that they can win league titles. When you looked at our team back in the day when we were first building under Jurgen had won league titles. So we knew we had a guy that knew how to win. Fabinho came in. He'd won a league title with Monaco. Ginny had won league titles.
Yeah.
We were building a team with winners dotted in and around. There was lads that you just knew you could trust. And Jurgen was obviously at the forefront of all that. You knew he was a winner. You knew he'd won league titles. Who at Arsenal has won anything other than like Kai Havertz and the lads who won things sitting on the bench at City?
Didn't Rice win a Europa Conference League?
That's not a real trophy. That's not a real. Me, you, and the people listening could win that competition. Shamrock Rovers away is your toughest game through the league phase. I think we'd be all right.
I honestly think, though, the Arsenal squad, if they had a Slot or a Klopp or a Pep would win because I think it's a talented squad. Don't get me wrong. I do think it's a really good. They could be a really good team in there, or there is a good team in there. I just don't think they're coached as well, unfortunately.
No, I don't. Neither do I. Neither do I. I don't think he's got the mindset. But look, that's a conversation for another day.
It is. It is. And this was fantastic, Dave. Once again, thank you for everything, your efforts. I think I've been saying it a lot on YouTube, but I'll say it to you as well. This thing wouldn't be anything without you as well. This thing is Anfield Index, but I've been saying it. I mean, Fidzi, passed. I didn't get to say it to him because he was a big part of it as well. But I'm not saying you're going to pass. I don't want anyone to pass. I'm just saying I want to make sure I say it to people whilst we have everyone together and everyone around that none of this gets built without the people that are working on it, and you're one of the main ones. So thank you very much for sticking with us and being with us. I know you departed for a couple of years in there, but you came back and you're still here. So this is just a little bit of a thank you from me to you, and I want to make sure I thank everybody in person as well whenever I see them, because one thing you learn from when people go that you had things to say to, make sure you say it properly, to people. So thank you very much.
I think we all learned that with Fids as well, because he was a big part of many of the early years, and certainly a big cheerleader for me and you.
Yeah,
and just an incredible man who would just be in his element now. He'd be in his absolute element. United garbage, Everton garbage, and Liverpool winning league titles. Fidzi would say that's proper order.
Yeah, and he'd be chuffed for the likes of Palace and Newcastle as well. He would. He's a good football man at the end of the day, and especially Newcastle City is all very similar, isn't it? In a way, hardworking people. So yeah, like I said, thank you very much, Dave. If that's the last thing I say today on this show, then that's, I think, a fitting way to end it. And to everybody who's watched, 3,255 of you, that's amazing. That's absolutely, subscribe on YouTube. Fantastic turnout on a Monday, and it looks like Liverpool are just getting to the end of the parade. So we'll go and look at that now and watch those amazing scenes. Although you can't see anything because there's so many blooming players everywhere. But that's part. I mean, it's looking at this. They've just got a helicopter now, literally just smoke throughout the whole street. It's just a red cloud, a pink cloud right now. That's insane. My cousin bought 50 flares. 50. He used 2 yesterday. There's 48 of those flares are his. That's insane. But yeah, anyway, Dave, thanks again. Thanks, Eddie, as well, who's been producing behind the scenes. Appreciate it. And we'll be back. Let's say the signings get done. Maybe me and Dave come back soon. But we'll speak soon. Up the Reds. We are the champions. Go and enjoy the end of the parade, folks, and switch over to LFC TV. Shouldn't really be advertising them, but hey, that's what we're all going to do. Have a great one. Thanks again. Up the Reds.